replacing or repairing a roof is pretty much a project all of us are going to take on sooner or later as a homeowner. Whether you want to take that on completely by yourself as a DIY project or hire it out, it is good to have an understanding of the basic supplies and materials you're going to need, and specifically how much are those going to cost. So I'll run you through different scenarios with this actual detached garage roof that we're swapping out today, give you the materials and supplies cost if you're just going to be doing that as a DIY project, and show you the actual process. And then what about hiring it out, or maybe some type of hybrid in the middle, accounting for labor and other costs like the disposal fee if you're tearing off the old roof. So first up, we're just going to do the tear off of all the old asphalt shingles and underlayment. Now this one does have 2 layers on it. We have the architectural shingles on top and then a 3-tab underneath that. So both of those got to go, and we're working the back side here, dumping the material into a 7x14 dump trailer. Now this goes all pretty quickly, but you want to make sure you get all the nails removed and also address any damage. Here you can see on the inside of the garage, I do have some mold and some water spots. So that means some of the decking does need to be removed. Now for this project, this is a 28 feet by 14 feet roof with each of those pitches. So adding those both up, we have a perfect square by 28 feet on each side, and that works out to 784 square feet of total material and surface area that we need to replace. And then specifically for this project, I'm kind of doing that hybrid. I'm not doing it completely by myself, and I'm certainly not hiring it out. I'm involved in the whole project. I'm grabbing all the materials, making the decisions, hauling away the materials in my 7x14 dump trailer here. But I will have a labor aspect to this overall project that I'll let you know, and then you can use that for your project to try to understand how much can you expect to pay. At this stage, getting an eye on your decking, getting an eye on your fascia board or anything underneath that decking if it was damaged, it's great to see that now so you can be clear that you want everything that's damaged replaced, because if you don't do that, the underlayment's going to go right back on the new asphalt shingles, and they're just going to go about the next job. So make sure you're at least paying attention during that job to make sure you get the finished product you're looking for. And specifically on this detached garage roof, I needed 6 sheets of OSB to replace some of the damage that was on this decking. Now this was only 1/2 inch. I would recommend that you use at least 5/8 if you have the choice. Here I was just matching everything up, so I really didn't have a great choice. Now you see that white aluminum perimeter, that is a drip edge that's going all the way around the perimeter. And then we'll move on to the ice and water barrier and the underlayment. But I'm gonna give you a closer look of some of these components so you know what to expect on your own roof. And then a high-level overview of just some of the materials that you would expect to have to purchase and use. You're gonna have drip edge. That's gonna be aluminum drip edge, and that's gonna be surrounding the entire perimeter of your roof. You're gonna start off with an ice and water barrier here at the bottom, and then you'd start to get your underlayment you see at the top. Now in the past you'd use like a 15 or a 30 pound felt paper or tar paper. Now they have this synthetic paper. I do prefer that for a little more cost. Additionally, you'll get the plastic cap nails to hold down your ice and water barrier, to hold down your underlayment. And then you do want to get starter strips. So before you put your asphalt shingles up, you will be placing your starter strips around the whole perimeter of your roof line. And I'll point you at the end of this video, if you are gonna take this on DIY yourself, the Excellent Labor has a really good hour-long video walking you through each of these steps. So you really understand, does the ice and water barrier go over the drip edge? How far does it go? And it gives you a lot more of the details if you're gonna actually take this project on. So now we'll go ahead and put our starter strips on and then start putting all the shingles up, and then we'll be done. So most importantly, let's look at the numbers so you can make a smart decision for your own home. I broke out in different rows the different costs that we had associated to this detached garage roof. And remember, this is 784 square feet. If you break that up into roofing squares, you just divide by 100. So that would get us right at 8 squares. Now, depending on the complexity of your roof, you might need a little more buffer, and you should probably go to 9 square for your materials just to make sure you have enough, and a few extras for any repairs repairs down the road. I did use 9 squares to get my materials, and so that is what I'm going to be using into this calculation of getting cost per roofing square. If we go through the first line item, the disposal fee, if you're doing a DIY, I'm assuming you're getting a 20-yard dumpster. So that is going to be a higher cost. And actually the hybrid and Pro is a lower cost. Now, would the Pro charge you a little bit more? Possibly, but I just put that at the cost that I paid, which was $222 at the transfer station. Now, the materials, the decking, that was the OSB sheets that I needed to get, the drip edge, the underlayment, nails, shingles, obviously being your largest expense. I went with Owens Corning and specifically their Duration series. I picked those up from Menards, and that's just a standard architectural shingle. Add in a little bit of a delivery charge, and then on the DIY side, I had a total cost of $2,267. That's if you did all the labor yourself and you had a trailer. I'm not even putting any rental in there for renting a trailer. That is the cost. What that works out to is $252 per roofing square, and that is completely DIY side. Now, what I actually paid, and I highlighted that in blue because I had $825 of additional labor to actually put the roof on. So for my cost, it was $2,789, and that is a $310 per roofing square. That dollar per roofing square is key because now you can measure out your roof, figure out how many roofing squares you have, and then apply these similar numbers to get an idea of what you're facing for your own project. And then if I hired it out as a pro, and this was based off of 2 different quotes that I got in my area, but I did carry over those line items so it made sense, and then just made up the difference in the labor pro row on this spreadsheet. So that would come out to about $4,400, which was the average of the 2 quotes I got. And that would be $485 per roofing square. But let me know what you guys think. Which path would you take, and which path have you taken in the past, and what was your associated cost? How much did you save? In this case, you're saving about $2,000 if you do that by yourself, DIY, compared to hiring it out. So it might actually be worth your time if you're comfortable doing this type of project.